Everybody take a deep breath. We're gonna go through a lot of information today. But don't be too worried about it. A lot of this will be review from things we've talked about before. As Max suggested, there are some additional trainings coming. One for drought and one for rangeland. Additionally, I just wanted to put everybody's mind at ease. We are trying to line out technical assistance for cropping systems and for rangeland for each and every district that's participating. So we'll go through a lot of stuff. Please do ask questions. Know that we probably won't get everybody to the same speed at the same page today, but we'll work over the coming months to get everybody to that place. So just for some background, earlier this year, House Bill 1181 established the soil health program under the purview of the Colorado Department of Agriculture. That was kind of a big step, but it's really rooted in a grassroots program that was run through a myriad of people. Max and Helen have been on this, Cindy's been on this, some folks at CSU. The NRCS has been a huge supporter of us. We wouldn't be here without them. Through money and through their voice and support. That's really what got us to a place where the legislature could actually vote on us having a soil health program. Additionally, a bill was passed, 235, that gave $2 million towards soil health, which we leveraged with all the grants that we got to raise a little over $5 million for the program, to run the program over the next 3 years. I know I will forget somebody, but there were a lot of people involved in this: the Gates Family Foundation, the NRCS, Colorado Coalition for Healthy Soils, CoCool. There were a numerous amount of producers who were involved from the very beginning, guiding our decision making and our science committee to make sure that we were putting something together that worked for producers. So the 3 grants that we funded, and when Nikki gets into this, she'll get a little bit more specific. I think there were actually 5, but the conservation districts and the eligible entities that are participating are basically run through the 3 grants. The 319, which was a water quality grant we got from the EPA. The CPP grant we got from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Those of you on the Eastern Plains will be working with that one. That one's specific to the Republican River watershed and the Ogallala. And then the big dog, the Conservation Innovation Grant, which more than doubled the size. It's about 53% of the program, and took us from 44 producers to 144 producers. That was the big one. And I think the last one we're still waiting on contracting for. So just really quickly, the STAR grant summary. The 319, there are 20 participants working in 5 districts, and we have 3 research fields. We're also looking to identify a research field in Chavano. And our focus there is going to be edge of field water quality research. And WQI was some matching funding we got from the EPA, which was a bonus. The CPP, which also has 20 participants working in 5 districts, plus the research field. So each one's working with 6 total. And that's really about water quantity. We'll focus on water quantity there. We'll have some soil moisture probes we'll be installing. The technical assistance providers will help with that. And we had some help with that from the Gates Family Foundation, CSU, CDA, and CWCD, the Colorado, I forget what that acronym stands for, actually. It's the Water Board. And then the CIG, which most of you are working with, 7 producers per district, and we're working on water availability there too. As we get further into this, I know a lot of you have heard me say this, soil health is the focus, but we're kind of coming at it tangentially, right? We're really focused on soil water. right? The increasing infiltration and water holding capacity is really what's going to build resilience into this system. So if you don't know where you are, here's where you belong. We have 17 conservations we're dealing with, 4 in the 319, 4 in the CPP. We have 7, 6, 8, 9 that we're working with in the CIG, and then our 3 eligible entities. So when we go to our breakout rooms later in the day, if you're wondering which grant you're participating in, this is where you should go for your breakout room. So Saving Tomorrow's Agricultural Resources. This was a program designed and developed by conservation districts in Illinois, for conservation districts in Illinois. The nice thing about STAR for us is that we get to focus on the resource of concern. And for us, that's soil health, right? Keeping soil in place, soil erosion. You know, we were a Dust Bowl state, so that's a big deal with the ongoing droughts that we're constantly dealing with. Water holding capacity and infiltration rates are really the focus. In Illinois, they have issues with surface water loading of nutrients and groundwater loading. And so theirs was with all the monitoring that they have set up for their groundwater and surface water. If they had 500 producers sign up for this voluntary program and they saw a decrease in nutrient loading, they could point to that directly and say, you know, that there's something going on there. Here in Colorado, we're building the plane as we're flying it, right? We don't have a lot of those monitoring tools in place. We are working with a lot of people to get those in place and be able to evaluate where we are over the coming decades. And so that's the reason why we like this is it's a voluntary program and it's adaptable. So as it grows, it's already in 4 or 5 states. There's 3 on board right now, I think, just directly adjacent to us that are looking at getting involved. As it grows and becomes a bigger player across the nation, you know, it's up to each state to determine what their resource concern is and to address those directly. In Colorado, you know, we have such a unique, you know, we're not just corn, soybean, and I hate to boil Iowa or Illinois or any of those states down to just that. They have diverse cropping systems too, but here we have, I think we have 10 or 11 field forms and scoring sheets, both for dry land and irrigated. Additionally, the big win was getting a grazing land component put together for this. Many of the states in the West, like us, grass is their #1 crop, and cattle are a big part of that. So getting a STAR grazing land component put together and worked in that everybody could get behind was a task. And I think we did a really good job. You know, nearly 40% of all arable lands globally are degraded, with aridity being the largest singular pressure on the system. And so I'm really confident that large-scale implementation of this program can move the needle on that as we go through, you know, more drought years than not. So what is STAR? Saving Tomorrow's Agricultural Resources. That's the acronym. It's a free and voluntary tool. That's what we really like about it. We're not looking to be prescriptive in any meaningful way. And it helps producers assess where they are on their soil health journey. It also inspires producers by identifying new practices, and through your guys' help, can structure the conversation around soil health. This is done by completing the STAR field forms and consultation forms, and it's used to work synergistically with the research parts of the program. Jim Ippolito and Megan McMuller here at CSU are putting together a very robust study while we're rolling this out to identify what does soil health mean in Colorado. It's not the same, obviously, in the San Luis Valley as it is in North Park or on the Eastern Plains or on the Western Slope. So how do we in Colorado assess soil health? What are the best tools to do that? They're working on that, and we're looking forward to see what comes from that research so that we can better administer soil health throughout the state. Obviously, this is rooted in the 5 soil health principles, which we will go into a little bit more later in the day. But basically, soil armor, right? Keeping something on the surface to protect the soil, minimizing your soil disturbance, whether that's chemically or physically through tillage, having a good diversity within the crop rotation or within the field itself. The continual living root, I think, is really going to be the big one that plays a bigger role as we get further down the road. And obviously, integration of livestock helps to reduce that carbon and nitrogen ratio of the standing stubble and gets that nutrient cycle moving in a more natural way. Just as a reminder, you all here today are working with what we call the Star Plus program. There are funds attached to that, equipment grants, certain obligations. But we know for many of you, there were more applicants than you had room to take in. We just want to remind everybody that STAR on its own for individual producers who either want to participate on their own or there just wasn't enough room for, we would like for the conservation districts and the eligible entities that are participating to get the word out about this. Helen later today will kind of go through, how to get to that website and where those forms are and how to navigate that. So if people are coming in and have any questions, or you're at a conservation district meeting, that you can bring these things up and let the community know that this is happening. These are some tools that they have, and it can be beneficial to the program moving forward.